This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's pod. This is a show for the week of August 14th, 2023. And if you're watching, do not adjust your sets. Phil is on location. We would have either had a guest. Well, August was tough, right? Like Phil's going on like 10 different vacations this month. Yeah. And I'm going on vacation next week. But
1 week I'm not on vacation. Jeez,
right. Yeah, exactly. So Phil's doing his local family vacation currently. I will allow you if you want to share where you're at. And then I'm going on vacation. And then Phil's going to Disney World after that. So we're going to do a couple different things. So next week, we may or may not have some content for you, depending on how jolly Phil feels during the week to record some things. But then the following week, we will be a little bit late in our episode, and we'll do like a trip report and everything else, all the kind of fun stuff we do once we get back from the Disney World vacation. So that's the next couple of weeks. But Phil's here. And on this week's show, we're going to try a couple new games. We're going to play Guess That Price and Name That Year. It's going to be like a Price is Right type of show, which is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to ask Phil a lot of questions, and he's going to either guess the price of something or the year that this thing happened. So we're going to a little bit of trivia. And to remind everybody out there, our social media accounts on Twitter or X at the DBC Pod, Insta, Threads, Facebook, and our YouTube channel, all at the DBC Pod. And if you're watching now, make sure you leave a comment and like this video below. It really helps the algorithm and allows other people to find us. And of course, our Discord server, which a lot of people found in the last week. We want to welcome new members: April, Mandy Blake, Diane, MB, Drea Girl, probably like Dream Girl, but without the M, Keke Pania 75, and CGA 15. All friends, I believe, of our lovely community member, Yulin, who probably posted this on her Facebook somewhere. So a lot of people are coming by. There's a lot of new active users. So we really appreciate you guys coming in and making the community grow and be part of our lovely family. But first, as always, we're going to talk about what's going on in our Disney World. And typically when Phil is kind of bored, he makes spreadsheets. So, Phil, what did you do this week?
Yeah, first, I guess just to mention before we get into it, we did also have some new YouTube subscribers, Michael Alexander and Lee Soke. So thanks for signing up.
Oh, yes, thank you.
There. And also one of our relatively new members on Discord, Skyliner Kate. She is on the plane tomorrow heading to Disney. So want to
Oh, right. So. Excellent, yes.
But yes, so spreadsheets. So one of the things I've been really thinking about for my trip is all about the cost of Genie Plus, and if we're going to get Genie Plus, what days, and then I think we already talked about it before when they switched to the pricing where it varies by park. That put another wrinkle into it and stuff like that. So I saw an opportunity to kind of build off that and try to identify which parks and which scenarios for which vacation types does it make sense maybe to buy Genie Plus or more sense. And this was a little bit prompted, and so I guess this topic is also a little bit of a DBC recommends that the YouTube channel Mammoth Club is doing a series of videos where they're going to each of the parks and trying to maximize the use of Genie Plus. Now, it's more of a science experiment to see how many Genie Plus usage they can get out of it. Molly, the person on it, was even using it for like seeing the Festival of Fantasy Parade or going to the Disney shorts in Epcot and stuff like so all the things that normally you wouldn't bother getting Genie Plus, just to kind of see how much use you could get out of it. But she kept track of everything and kept track of how much extra time she waited. So she basically timed every time she got into the Genie Plus lightning lane and then subtracted that amount from what the posted wait time was and basically said, okay, by using Genie Plus on this attraction, I saved 22 minutes. On this one, I saved 56 minutes. On this one, I saved 0 minutes, whatever it was, and totaled everything up.
Yeah, so basically, they would look at the posted wait time. So if the wait time was inflated, it's you know, it is what it is. But that's the only way you can do it, right? And then she basically, what she did was she dinged in with her in the lightning lane, started her clock, and basically when she got to the pre-show, she hit stop or the merge point, I guess.
Yeah.
That's where she hit stop, and that's where the times are subtracted. And before you go on, Phil, I just want to double up on your recommendation. Typically, I don't watch the Mammoth Club because a lot of their videos are kind of goofy. Their reviews are very good. This series was excellent, and you know, I've recommended it to people. You know, I don't think I mentioned it last week, but I became a Disney travel agent, and it's not something I'm promoting here, but they were asking about Genie Plus. I forwarded them these videos, and they're extremely helpful. You can get to see the screen and when she's kind of scrolling through and how she's refreshing it and all this other type of stuff. So I wanted to kind of back you up on that point. It's really good videos.
So, and the metrics they were looking at a lot was basically how much total time was saved and then how many attractions they were able to use it for. And so kind of said, okay, here's the cost of Genie Plus that day. Here's the cost per attraction. I was looking at it another way where I was trying to say, okay, well, how much did I pay for each hour of park time based on the park ticket? And then how much do I need to kind of save using Genie Plus to make up the cost of Genie Plus? And so I looked at each of the 4 parks, and I started at saying, I looked at the price of the tickets for when I'm going to be there, because I figure most people are getting a multi-day ticket. So then I took the total and divided it by 4. So I said each day at the park was costing you $118.56. Then I looked at what the park hours were. And so Magic Kingdom, when I'm there, is 13 hours. Epcot and Hollywood Studios are 12, and Animal Kingdom is only 10 hours. So that means each hour of the park, you basically take that total, divide it by the number of park hours. That's how much you're paying per hour for park access that day. So Magic Kingdom, you're paying $9.12. Animal Kingdom, which is only open 10 hours, you're actually paying $11.86 per hour of access time. Then you look at the Genie Plus pricing, which of course...
I just want to let me jump in.
Yeah.
The Animal Kingdom is the most expensive per hour, and it's the least amount of thing. Come on, Disney, let's go.
I mean, obviously, if you're buying a one-day park ticket, the one-day park ticket, Animal Kingdom is cheaper than Magic Kingdom, but very, you know, I think if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably somebody who's not getting a single-day ticket.
Not many people get single-day tickets, though.
Right. So then I looked at the Genie Plus pricing, which varied from Magic Kingdom was $25, Hollywood Studios $22, Epcot $18, and Animal Kingdom $16. So then I basically said, okay, so how many hours of park time do I need to save to make up that cost? So for example, at Magic Kingdom, price per hour is just over $9, $25 for Genie Plus. I need to save 2.74 hours of time to make up the cost of Genie Plus. Whereas for Animal Kingdom, yes, it's more per hour because it's less total hours the park is open, but Genie Plus was only $16. So I actually only need to save 1.35 hours, almost like half as much as I need to at Magic Kingdom, just because the price of Genie Plus is less. Now, I looked at what Mammoth Club did, how many attractions they got on, how many hours they saved. One thing I will note in the videos, they did a total for how many total attractions they did, but then they also said which attractions are worth it to use Genie Plus on. So I'm mostly going to focus on those, but just for example, at Magic Kingdom, they used it 22 times. So that was pretty impressive. Wow. They used Genie Plus 22 times in one day. But they said it was only really worth it for about 12 of those attractions.
Let me throw in here, just so we could set expectations in case for some reason this is your first time being exposed to Genie Plus, first time that you're using it or even thought about it seriously. If this is all done with one person, right? Mm-hmm. If you have more people in your party, that might affect how many you get on, because there might not. Well, she might be refreshing to find additional slots because that's how she did it. She kept kind of looking. It's easier to find a slot for one person than it is to find a slot for 4 person, because a family of 4 cancels their Genie Plus. 4 individuals can then find that versus you needing to find for having to be in your party. So that is kind of like a performance type of warning, I guess, or disclaimer.
No, I think that's very true. And I mean, she was using it. She calls it fiddle faddling when she's messing with it. And she was even doing it like she was riding the Haunted Mansion, and in between the stretching room and the Doom Buggy, she was like fiddle faddle. So she was like over the top, just trying to from a scientific. So this isn't really a realistic experience people are going to have. But I think directionally, because she did the same thing at each park, it'll hopefully highlight which park is kind of better in different situations.
Wait, hold on a second. Normal? Are you saying that you and I are not normal people, or that fine people listening to this and watching this are not? Because that's what I was doing the first time. I'm like, let's go. I got it. It's great, and I'm constantly on my phone. That's why I didn't like it as much as other people were like, oh, this is good enough. Select it and then go have fun. Me, I'm like staring at my screen. My wife is yelling at me, and the kids are screaming. So But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
But anyway, so if we use, I'll just go through a couple examples before I get to my kind of tweaks to this. But so the worth it attractions at Magic Kingdom, she said there were 12. On those 12 rides, she actually saved 9.1 hours. So that's like a good chunk of the day. So the value of that, if you say how much per hour I'm spending to be in Magic Kingdom, is about $83 of value from getting Genie Plus, because she was not taking the time standing in line. And that ratio of what you had to pay for Genie Plus was 3.3 times. So she got more than 3 times the value out of Genie Plus. Now, again, she was a hyper user of Genie Plus, but it shows that you can definitely get value out of it. Whereas, on the opposite end of the spectrum at Epcot, she did it for 11 total attractions, but only 4 of them did she think it was worth it, where you were saving any time. She still saved 3.7 hours. So the value saved was a little over $36, which was about double what you had to pay for Genie Plus. So even in the quote unquote worst example, where you saved the least amount, she still saved twice as much as what Genie Plus cost, and that was only using it for 4 attractions.
I find it funny. She used it for 11 attractions, and she still only saved 3.7 hours.
Yeah, it was the exact same. So the other 7 attractions saved her 0 minutes by using it. She was literally using it, Grand Fiesta Tour, the Pixar shorts and things like that, where you just merge right in. But yeah, so even in that case, with 4 attractions, you are saving twice as much as what Genie costs.
Do we know what the 4 attractions are? I'm assuming it's Remy, Frozen, Test Track, and Soarin'.
Correct. Those are the 4. Yep. And she even said Soarin', you probably can find it a lot of times with like a 20-minute wait or whatever. But she said sometimes it can build, so she did count that as a worth it. Now, what I did though was like, okay, the way she was using it, she just got into the park and was on at 7 a.m. and stuff, but she wasn't staying on site, so she didn't have access to early entry or anything like that. So I tried to come up with different vacationing styles and said, well, how would this impact how you use Genie Plus? And so the 3 styles I came up with are the early entry commando style. So those are people that are staying on property and have access to that early entry, so that almost lets you skip one of the lines. I have the sleeping in and stacking group. So those are the people that are maybe going to go in a couple hours late. They're not going to use early entry, but they are going to be active with Genie Plus. So they're going to get up at 7 a.m., get their first one, and start stacking for the day. And then the last group I actually called actually vacationing people. So these are the people that are not going to be as heavy users of Genie Plus. They're not going to be in the park from opening to close and that sort of thing. And it basically said, you're only going to be in there for 60% of the park time, and you're only going to get on 60% of the attractions. So just to try to kind of reduce the usage, and said, okay, if I'm actually not going to be a hyper user, can I still get some value out of Genie Plus?
So I'm going to call these categories that you made. Commando is Phil and Jason style. Sleeping in and stacking is Matt Pato style. And actually vacationing is basically anybody else.
Yeah, basically what we probably should be doing. But
yeah, of course.
And I'll be honest, one of the reasons I did through this exercise is on our upcoming trip, a couple of the days we're going to be, the plan is to do the sleeping in and stacking style.
Actually vacationing?
So yeah, I wanted to see how much this might impact my decision to get Genie Plus. So what I did for Commando style was I said, okay, so now the park hours went up by half hour, right? So now your price per hour comes down a little bit because you have more park time. But then I also said, okay, you're going to get on one of those in-demand attractions during that early entry time with minimal wait. So you're not going to be using Genie Plus on that attraction. So it's basically like getting a free lightning lane, whether you bought Genie Plus or not. So what I did was I basically took the wait times that Molly had to wait for that attraction out of the total and said, you're no longer saving this by having Genie Plus. So we take that out of the Genie Plus benefit and said, okay, where does this impact things the most? So this is kind of saying for the people that are going to be in the park all day, they're going to go early entry. Do I need to buy Genie Plus because I'm getting that benefit? Or how much less of a benefit, dollar savings wise, do I get from Genie Plus because I'm going to be doing this Commando style? So for example, in Magic Kingdom, I said it was Peter Pan. So now that was 81 minutes. So that's 1.35 hours. You're no longer saving. So you take that out of the total. And so the impact to the worth it attractions is now you're getting 15% less value out of Genie Plus by doing this, because you're now saving, you're not using it for one ride, one big one time. The two where you had the biggest impacts were at Epcot and Animal Kingdom, because those have the fewest attractions that you really need Genie Plus for. So by taking out one of those and getting on it during early entry, you really don't, it has a bigger impact to how much benefit you have to Genie Plus. So at Epcot, it's now 30% less of a value to you. And at Animal Kingdom, it's now 40% less of a value. Now, in each of those cases, you still would have saved more than the cost of Genie Plus. So there still is some benefit to having it. But now it's getting closer to kind of break even, and maybe it's not worth it.
I mean, one of the things that you probably should take a look at is, okay, you save, for example, Magic Kingdom, where it's the biggest, total hours saved was 7 hours, right?
Right.
But you've done all the worth it attractions. What are you using those extra 7 hours for, right? Are you using it for leaving and coming back? Are you using it to go standby for those extra go on those worth it attractions a second time? So, I mean, one of the things that you have to consider, Magic Kingdom, totally worth it because you go on the rides a second time. There's a lot of other stuff that you could do. But at somewhere like Epcot, if you're saving, on Commando style, you're saving almost 2.5 hours.
Yep.
What are you doing with those extra 2.5 hours? Are you doing all the other attractions? Is it like, am I just wasting time now because I have nothing to do? Because let's say you're somebody that doesn't drink and you're not a foodie, but you're going in there for some of the entertainment. What are you doing with those 2.5 extra hours if you're doing like the Commando style?
Exactly.
So
if you're going to be there for 12.5 hours, do you have enough other stuff to fill up those hours if you have all these saved hours? So some examples though in Magic Kingdom, not everything has lightning lane. So like People Mover, Carousel of Progress, there are some other things to do if you want to get in line early, waiting for fireworks, things like that. But yeah, you need to kind of think, that's a really good point, is okay. And that's kind of why I'm saying maybe if you are going to be Commando style and really try to maximize the hours you are in the park, it might not be worth it, especially at say Epcot and Animal Kingdom, to pay for Genie Plus, even though it's cheaper at those parks versus Magic Kingdom, where Genie Plus is a little bit more, but there's more things to do with the time you've saved.
And I think this also goes to prove that you could use this analysis, but maybe when you're doing Commando style, or whatever it might be, you can leave the parks earlier, assuming that you don't care about the nighttime spectaculars. And then now you also have some extra resort time or time to sleep in, because you're going like Magic Kingdom Commando the next day, where you do need your sleep because you probably will be there for fireworks. You'll be there for rope drop, and it's a busy day. So those extra hours saved can be then, you could say those extra hours have a value of not going on other attractions, but the value of rest, relaxation, and finding the vacation that we're constantly talking about somewhere else. So what is the value of those extra hours at the resort, right? It's a meal with your family, it's swimming time, it's a new experience somewhere else. So I personally find value in that. So if Genie Plus allows you to do that, that might be worth it.
Yep. And that's definitely what we were thinking for our upcoming trip, and how we weren't planning on getting it for Animal Kingdom, but that day we are thinking of leaving early for resort time. So do we bite the bullet and get it there anyway? Even if we only use it for a handful of attractions, we get through some more things and feel better about leaving early.
Wait till you start hearing about our trip planning that we've already started kind of generally talking. We haven't booked anything yet for our December trip, but we've already started kind of baking in how not Commando. We want to be a blend of sleeping in and actually vacationing this trip. So I don't want to butt in on your trip, but something to talk about in October, I guess.
Yep. So the next group is the sleeping in and stacking. So the idea here is you are still an active Genie Plus user. You're getting your first one at 7 a.m. and then using the 120-minute rule and that sort of thing. So you're still going to try to get it on all of the worth it attractions, but you're not actually going to show up to the park until 2 hours after the park opening. So that means you're reducing your park hours by 2 across the board, which means your price per hour goes up, because now you're still paying the same to get in the park, but now you're only there, say, at Epcot, you're there 10 hours instead of 12 hours. Or now at Animal Kingdom, if you get there 2 hours late, the park's only got 8 more hours open. So you're paying almost $15 per hour that the park is still open. but you're still getting on all those attractions. So each hour you're saving is kind of worth more. So you need to actually save less time to cover the cost of Genie, because each of the hours that you save is worth more. And so I think that kind of shows interesting where for some of those, it kind of has the reverse impact for, say, Epcot or Animal Kingdom, where now that I'm only using it on, say, 4 or 6 attractions, but each of them is worth more to save the time because I have less other time in the park there.
Yep.
So, for example, with Epcot, you're still saving on 4 attractions, and now your ratio of Genie Plus to the cost of it is 2.4 times. Your variance to the base case is 0.4 hours, or about a 20% increase to the value, because each hour that you're saving is worth more. And this is where I think your touring style shows how much that can impact if you think Genie Plus is worth it or not. Because when we looked at the Commando style for Epcot, it was worth 30% less, right? And now it's worth 20% more. That variance of the sleeping and stacking to the Commando style is 76% worth it more. It's worth more to you if you sleep in and stack versus if you're in Commando style.
And let me put some more side commentary on this. So Genie Plus potentially. So if you want to have, let's say you are a Commando style park tour, like we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're like, we need to keep the family happy. We need to find the vacation in the vacation, and we're trying to find numbers to justify it. And I think this is where you're going in your head, because you haven't put the finishing touches on this. But I might be jumping ahead of you. But for me personally, it's like, okay, I can get Genie Plus and then sleep in, or go out for a breakfast or do something, and like not be in a panic when I show up at the gates of a park at like 10 a.m., 11 a.m. or whatever it might be like, oh my gosh, my day is wasted, I'm getting depressed. No, with Genie Plus, if you've been stacking it appropriately, I can have the same ride experience as somebody that's doing it from open to close.
Yep. No, and I actually wrote down the note that I think buying Genie Plus, if you're doing the sleeping up and stacking, it's sort of a way you're paying to sleep in on your Disney trip.
That's a ridiculous statement,
which is
but
kind
it's
of
so true.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
but like, it allows you to have that kind of same experience as if you went Commando without Genie Plus. You get to sleep in and kind of have the same as far as attractions, but it obviously just costs you a little bit more. And then the last one I did was looking at actually vacationing. So if you're not going to be a power user with Genie Plus, is it still kind of worth it to you? So I said you're only in the parks about 60% of the time, 60% of the day. So you're either getting there later, maybe you're taking a big midday break, and you're going to get on fewer attractions. So at Magic Kingdom, I still said you might get on like 7 attractions. You might still be able to do that. At like Hollywood Studios, now I'm saying you're only going to use it for like 4. And actually the one that was most interesting is, and this is where I think if you're in this category, you might not want to use it at, say, Epcot, is you might only get to use it on 2 of those attractions.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not getting it at 7 a.m. and you're not kind of being a bit of a power user with Genie Plus. And it really makes a difference if you get on, say, 2 attractions versus 3 attractions in Epcot. It goes from being like not worth it to worth it. So you're taking that sort of chance at, say, Epcot. So, I think it was an interesting exercise to sort of look at. So the end result for this was that at Epcot and Magic Kingdom is actually slightly less worth it to you if you do this style versus the base case. It can still be a little bit worth it to you in Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, because there's fewer hours, so each hour is worth more. So even if you only use it for like 3 or 4 attractions, you're still getting value out of it because of the time you're buying back. But at Epcot and Magic Kingdom, it was less worth it.
Now, I want to put these caveats in. What is not being considered with these times, because Phil doesn't do any of the measurements of times and when you're getting online for these things and the wait times. So you go to thrillldata.com or any other touring plans, but thrillldata.com has some of the best graphical information out there. Currently, right now, if you're going in the summer, there is a massive drop off on wait times right around 1-2 o'clock because people are beating the heat. Right. So this analysis does not take into account that wait times are shorter in the first 2 hours the parks are open and the last 2 hours that the parks are open, especially at Magic Kingdom when everybody's watching fireworks, right? So those use cases are not there's no variable in the efficiency for this analysis, right?
Yep.
It was information that was found, and Molly was just going through the parks, finding out whatever the wait times were. I think in our Hollywood Studios one, the one that I watched, it was raining one day, so that might have impacted wait times and some of the analysis. This was just a fun experiment that she did. Yep. This is not some kind of statistical like analysis of the way you should do things. But you've done a wonderful way kind of showcasing where value is across all the parks. And the only reason why I bring this up, because when you say actually vacationing, last time I went, we did a lot of midday breaks.
Yep.
And I think we even had Genie Plus, and we maximized it because we were able to get on a handful of rides in the morning by rope dropping, Genie Plus stuff, by flowing from attraction to attraction. And once we started flowing, we started stacking for when we were going to come back at like 4 or 5 o'clock. And then once we got to the parks, we had a whole slew of things to do, which allowed us to maximize our time in late night. So this enabled, like we just talked about how sleeping in, it enables you to sleep in. This also allows you to take midday breaks also. Where your analysis actually works out if you're actually vacationing. That's like for somebody that comes in at 11, they kind of hang out for a while, and then they go home at like 4 or 5 o'clock, back to the hotel, go get some dinner. They're kind of meandering, and they're the people that are holding up the park map in front of them, trying to figure out where, Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway is in Hollywood Studios. So, but if you use it smartly, it allows you to have, like we said before, more freedom to do other things and not have to be in the parks.
So I think just to kind of sum up, and I think you did a good job with those comments, Jason, is that really think about how you want to do your vacation and have that be an input into whether you buy Genie Plus each day. I do think I called it the early entry commando style, but that's also probably the people that think about, 5 minutes before the park closes, I know I can jump in a long line, because as long as you're in the line before the park closes, you get to go on it. So the people are really strategic about when to look for lower wait times and when to jump in things. I'm kind of bundling all them together in commando style. And then I think it really is questionable, if that's how you're going to do the park, to get it at, say, Epcot and Animal Kingdom. However, if you are wanting to sleep in and you want to be stacking and things like that, it's actually extra valuable at parks like Epcot and Animal Kingdom. And I think, Magic Kingdom, it's always kind of useful, but again, depends how many Magic Kingdom days you have, and how much you want to be on your phone versus sort of enjoying and smelling the roses and stuff like that, that there are ways to get a lot of rides in on Magic Kingdom without using it. But there's just so many rides that even if you use it a handful of times, there's other rides for you to use that kind of extra time you created. So, think about how you tour the style parks and have that be an input too. And I think, like a lot of things with Disney, there's no one answer that says like, oh, everybody should always get Genie Plus or no one should ever get Genie Plus. There are situations where it makes a lot more sense than others.
The alternative is if you have a vacation where you're there for 5 full days and you only get 4 park tickets, and you're like, okay, but we're budgeting 4 park days and Genie Plus for every single day. If you don't get Genie Plus for some of those days, that might allow you to afford a 5th park ticket also. Yep. So if you're doing Magic Kingdom, each park one day and you have a day off somewhere in the middle there, you're like, I don't really want to spend the money on a 5th ticket. You can take Genie Plus from your Epcot and Animal Kingdom days because maybe you don't really need it. And then you buy a second Magic Kingdom ticket. And now you're not as rushed on your Magic Kingdom day, and you have a backup day to kind of catch some of the things that you might have been able to either skip or not get to that day too. So again, it's where you put the money in your Disney vacation that really counts. So there's kind of some, I don't know if it's out of the box thinking, but understanding where your money's going and what you could get for your money in other places. All right. So what I was thinking about this week, Phil, that was excellent, by the way. Phil just showed me this like spreadsheet. What was it, like a couple days ago? And I'm like, oh my God, this is absolutely fantastic. So I'll leave it to Phil to give another fellow Disney nerd a happy smile on my face when I'm staring at a spreadsheet. Also, my wife thinks I'm working when I'm staring at these spreadsheets. She leaves me alone while I'm working at it too. So it's kind of, it's also a benefit there. Anyway, what I was thinking of was, Phil, you were on Matt's podcast, Happily Everything Disney, this week. Did it drop this week?
It dropped last Friday.
Last Friday, excuse me. That's right. And that's right, because I was listening to it on Friday. And you guys had the dichotomy of, Matt's going on, what is it, an 8-night or 9-night vacation in December?
So I know both he and Mike are going in. I think Mike's in November, Matt's in December. And I know they both have 8 park days. So I think
Yes.
it's at least. So I don't know if they're going on arrival days and stuff like that, but it's at least an 8 or 9 day trip with 8 park days.
And I've only done this once with a 7-day park ticket back in 2019. You're typically a shorter vacationer because you go more often. You were talking about that on the show. Excellent show, by the way. Suggest everybody download it and listen to Phil's travel plans, and then which will be a nice little preview of our trip report in a couple weeks. That being said, I was thinking about what is the mental difference between a long Walt Disney World vacation and a short one, right? It could be a long night vacation where you're staying for 6 nights, but maybe you only have 4 park days, right? And then there's always the pressure for us Uber Disney fans to fill every single day up with a park ticket, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as I was saying, when I'm doing my pseudo vacation planning and like building expectations with the wife and how we're going to tour the parks, we were saying, okay, well, we could do 5 park days and a party day because we're going to have 6 full days there. But my wife's like, no, I want to do a day off. And then I'm reconciling with myself. Like I wanted a second Epcot day so I can do a World Showcase day and then a, World Discovery day and kind of go back and forth. But then I'm like, okay, we only have one. Like, does that make the trip as worth it? So I'm calling a short trip between 1 to 4 days at the parks and a long trip, being somewhere at 6+ days. I don't know what you call a 5-day trip. Maybe it's a Goldilocks vacation. I don't know. But Phil, what changes for you? I want to talk to you first. Ask you first. What are the things that change for you mentally when you know you're going to be there for all this extra time versus your typical vacation where, like last time in December, you had only 3 park days, right? You crammed as much as you could, but you had 3 days to do it. Now you have more time to stretch us. So how does that change your planning aspect mentally?
Yeah. So for me, the biggest thing, and this became very apparent when I was talking to Matt and Mike, is that you just have more chances to do things. So you don't have to get everything in at Epcot or whatever in that one day. And that makes a big difference for certain rides. So like the individual Lightning Lane, like say Tron or Guardians right now, or virtual queue, you can only get one of those a day. So if I'm going for a shorter time, I'm going to feel more pressure to buy that individual Lightning Lane so we can get on it twice. Whereas if I knew I had a couple Magic Kingdom days or a couple Epcot days, I might not, because I know I have access to more virtual queues and that sort of things. And I know that's just one example, but that's that type of thing. Like, okay, we want to get on this ride. If we don't do it this day, we'll make sure it's a priority the next day. And it just, I think, puts less pressure on each day to get done everything you want to get done.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other big thing for me is, as you get out into those, especially out to like say 7 or 8+ days, the incremental increase of adding that day onto the park ticket is much less. I think going from like 6 to 8 days, for my family might only be another $100 or
it's like tens of dollars per day.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think by that point, because each day then costs you less, you feel a little bit better about, say, we'll get there late, we'll leave early, we'll take a bigger midday break. Whereas when I'm paying like top dollar, if I'm only going 3 or 4 days, I want to use that park time as much as possible. So I think those are the two biggest mental differences for me, I think.
I mean, I generally agree from the length of your vacation stay, right? And I was going to ask you, do you plan less or more? I mean, obviously you plan more with that spreadsheet trying to determine the value of Genie Plus, right? So those are the things that go. But I think you plan just as much on a longer trip, but it's just different type of planning.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But let's turn it to another way. Let's say you are going for a full week, like you are, but you're only doing 3 park days and like 2 resort days or something else like that. You didn't want to drop the money for 5 or 6 days, but you're going 3. Maybe you're visiting family, maybe whatever, right? But you only have 3 park days. How does that change you mentally when you're like saying, okay, I'm going to be here this long, and you have upward pressure just to use that extra time, like the pressure of getting rid of the vacation because you have all this empty space, you want to fill it. Because me personally, like I was saying before, we're going to go for, typically we always do Magic Kingdom twice on a longer trip. That's not like a weekend adventure type of thing. And we have a day off, and I'm like, well, what are we going to do on our day off? And wake up, go get breakfast somewhere, swim in the pool, and then we're going to do a Disney Springs night. She wants to bring the kids to the T-Rex restaurant, Tyrannosaurus restaurant, and with all the fun little animatronics there. And I'm thinking to myself, actually that sounds actually really nice, like smack dab in the middle of a trip. But I feel this pressure or this loss. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a loss of like, well, I only have one Epcot day, and there's only one day I'm going to get to see all the Festival of the Holiday stuff. So I have to get all of that in. I'm going to feel all this pressure to go on Guardians Cosmic Rewind because that's one of my favorite rides. It's amazing. And then have to do all this other stuff in the World Showcase because there's no better feeling knowing that I'm at Epcot tonight and I'm having a good time. I have another one in my back pocket later in the vacation, right? But knowing when you do all 4 parks, except for our Magic Kingdom, because we're going to do a Magic Kingdom day and then we're going to do a party day, I think. I'm like, all right, I'm at Magic Kingdom, but I will get that Magic Kingdom back that last day before we go home or whatever it might be. So, to me, I have to fight against, every time I go to the park, it's going to be sad because that's the last day I'm going to be in the park, right? So it's like, do you sometimes feel that way, or is that something that kind of crosses your mind? Because you don't typically plan where you have the room to do multiple parks days in a vacation because of your vacation styling. Is that something that you think crosses your mind, or am I just crazy myself?
No, I don't know if it crosses my mind because that's typically what we do is we have one park, one day at each park. That's kind of how we are. So we know that's our Epcot day, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But I totally get where you're coming from, where if I knew I had another Epcot day or another Hollywood Studios day or something like that, when I'm in it that day, I won't be thinking about, oh man, I'm bummed we didn't get on X or we didn't get to see this or something like that, because you have that other day to make up for it. So you can probably enjoy the moment a little bit more, or it's easier to, your mind isn't thinking about other things. So I definitely get that the idea is like, oh, I'm really enjoying this moment and I have another of these days coming up. That's cool. Like I can understand that mentality.
Well, I mean, to me, it's like, there's a couple things that's happened. I mean, this is just my crazy brain. Some other people probably are not thinking as crazy as I am, is when I don't have that pressure. I don't know if it's a Disney Genie Plus pressure because of scheduling, but when I know I have another day in my back pocket, it allows me to get that vacation in a vacation because I don't feel that need to be like, this might be the last time I go for 2 years because of X, Y, Z or anything else like that. And I know personally that when you have your Magic Kingdom day and it's over, and your Animal Kingdom day and it's over, and you don't have another one, I don't know if it for me, before it happens, it makes it feel like the vacation is going faster because these are all endpoint, not like, okay, I'm going and then I'm going to go again and I'm going to look forward to that later in the week type of thing. So there's less, or there's more finality to every single day. So I don't know if that puts like extra stress on your brain, saying like, oh, that was great at Animal Kingdom, it was a long day, let's go on to the next one. It doesn't make it seem as long, I guess.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that it does make things go quick, where all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, we did our Magic Kingdom and Epcot day. That means we're like halfway done already. I think what does help is that we do go more frequently. And we kind of know that in the back of our mind. Like, it's not like it's going to be 5 years before we're back.
Yeah, but that's like in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
You're at Epcot, man. You're like, you're having some drinks, and it's whatever the new show might be.
I guess maybe that's just why planning is so important to me, because I set up the day, and as long as we execute kind of the plan, I feel like satisfied and that sort of thing. I definitely think if it's a day where things go wrong, it hits you even harder. Like, let's say, you said Epcot, let's say it's our Epcot day, and for whatever reason, Guardians of the Galaxy was closed the whole day. Right? Then it's like, wait, this was my one chance, and I don't get on it. I don't have like a backup or something. So I think it puts more pressure on that day to kind of work out. And if there's things out of your control that go wrong, whether it's lightning and half the rides in Magic Kingdom are down, or whatever it is, it kind of makes you feel like I guess the negativity can be higher, because then you don't have a chance to make up for it.
One of the things I've learned is, the vacation that we always repeat, right? We're always trying to find that. Not only does it allow you to take a break and you're not going crazy, but it also allows you to slow down your vacation too. Because we've experienced this a couple of trips where we've done things like this. Our last 2 trips, longer trips, 2019 and 2022, have been like really parks every single day, very little, breaks in the evening where you can kind of settle down for the day type of thing. And I think where, when you're going commando every single day, or commando with daybreak commando, right? I personally think even if you take a midday break, but you're opening and closing the parks, it's still commando in one way because there's always something more to do that day. I think if you get to the midpoint and you're able to reflect on the last couple of days and the fun that you've had, it allows you to also think of what's coming too. And, if we end up doing this vacation planning the way I think we are planning it, we'll have a trip report in the new year about how it went. But I don't know. I think it's just something to. How do you get the value? Not the value. The value is the wrong one. How do you get the memories and the vibe and the Disney feels that, right? Like it's more like how do you capture the magic in your brain in the moment in realizing where you are and appreciating where you are rather than like going stir crazy because your spreadsheet's telling you need to go here for an extra 61 cents per hour value, right? Anyway, I mean, let me know what you guys think about this. This is not going to be an engagement question or not, but like, how do you feel? Maybe this will be a DVC engagement in weeks to come, but like, how do you feel? What kind of downward pressure do you feel when you go on longer stays, but singular park days, right? I don't know. I have to rephrase that question. I don't know, but we're going to talk about that later on. I think there's a good psychological discussion to have around that. I'm curious to see how other people feel about that. Okay, we're going to move on to our games this week. It's game time. I feel, Phil, we need to hire somebody to have like one of those game show like sounds that play in the background. Kind of pop in here in the recorded version of this. We're going to play Name That Year first. And I don't know why I did put this one first because I did guess that price first on my list. But anyway, Name That Year. I've got a bunch of different things. And if we had more time, I would add some background, some history, and some storytelling around it. But I thought, okay, Phil's on vacation. He doesn't need a story being told. We're already pushing 40 minutes on this thing, and he needs to go have another adult beverage wherever he is. So I'm gonna say something, and I'm gonna give you some easy ones in here if you could do some math, and then you just have to tell me the year. Okay? We're not even talking the time of the year. You just have to tell me the year. And okay, so Phil, name that year. Disney celebrated MGM's 15th anniversary.
15th anniversary. So what was that? That was like 2006-ish?
2004, but that was very close. Very close.
Oh, that's right.
I have a cruise line question for you.
Uh-oh.
Disney Wonders Maiden Voyage. The Disney Wonders Maiden Voyage.
Cruise line is 25 years old, and Magic was the first one.
Can he get? He's not a cruiser.
I know, not a cruiser. So I'm trying to.
But I threw this one there for our cruise line fans to see.
So it'd be like
Phil stir under the heat of the lights.
Like 1998.
Oh, so close! 99. I'll give you credit for that one. That's a pretty darn close. I would never have gotten that. Okay, here's one that you might be able to get. This could be a good guess. This is the year Walt Disney World welcomed its 10 millionth guest.
Oh, wow.
10 millionth guest.
10 million.
And I'm going to follow up that is when they welcomed their 400 millionth guest.
Yeah, I was going to say, because 10 million isn't that much nowadays, but I guess when they only had the one park, it was probably, so they opened in 1870.
10 millionth guest. How long did it take them to get 10 million people through the turnstiles?
Probably only a couple years. I'll say 1973.
72.
Oh, it was only 72.
Okay, fairly quick.
Yeah.
So now 400 million. How long did it take to get to 400 million? Do you know? 400 million people through the guests.
So I would say, I'm just going to guess. It's about 15 million.
Come on, Phil. Spit it out.
Spit it out. 1984.
Much longer than that. Took him 20 years to get to that. 1992 to hit 400 million. Here's some Epcot ones for you. Ready?
Okay.
Horizon opens. What year did Horizons open?
That was the second year, so 1983.
Correct. Excellent. Good job. Thank you for setting everybody's faith in your
Epcot
fandom of Epcot. This is good. Okay, well, here's a non-Epcot one. I have them in random order. What year did Disney debut their $1 and $5 bill? The Mickey 1 and 5. What year did that come out?
Oh, like the Disney dollars?
The Disney dollar, the 1 and 5s.
At Walt Disney World or even at Disney?
This is all Walt Disney World.
Disney World. Okay. I'm not familiar with it. I'll say 19. 75.
87. This was an
so not-
80s marketing gimmick.
Okay.
1987.
I never got those, so I never really was like, I didn't know the timing of those or the history of those. I know some people are really into it. But...
I got them and I had no idea what to do with them because my my grandfather was one of those people that put my name on one of the bricks in front of Magic Kingdom. You know, where you could write your name and your address. And he sent me Disney Mickey dollars because they just had the name. They had Mickey. He didn't send it to me because I was going to spend them, but it was just because it looked like a dollar with Mickey Mouse on it. So I always got them. What year did Fantasmic premiere?
Oh, I should know this.
At Disney World. We're not talking about last year either.
Yeah, no. 1989. That was.
What year did Fantasmic
1997.
premiere? So close. 98.
Okay.
98. Year I graduated high school. How about that? What year did the World of Motion close?
Oh, World of Motion.
As you're thinking, World of Motion closed for the opening of the current attraction Test Track, if you didn't know that. So World of Motion closed what year? Do you need a hint, Phil?
I could just guess. I think it was
Okay.
1998-ish.
96.
Oh, okay.
So ish is correct. I'll give you 2 years on the ish. Another Epcot one. What year was the Norway grand opening in the World Showcase? What year?
Because I know that wasn't a debut one. It's 1982.
Norway's
85?
grand opening was in 1988.
Oh, it's older than I thought. Okay. I thought it
But
was more
close.
than that.
But close. Here's another one. Tinkerbell finally got her own meet and greet at Pixie Hollow in Toontown. In what year?
Oh.
And this might have been mixed with a Disneyland trivia thing, so
Okay.
I don't know. I want to, first of all, while you think about that, I want to thank allears.net. They have a wonderful archive of their newsletter that goes back like 20 years, and they had a segment of Blast from the Past for all Disney World type stuff. So I got a lot of these questions from there, the dates. Because it's surprising how very little that you can find when you talk about the history of Disney World, and you don't give you dates, you just talk about it at one point.
So this one I don't know. I'm going to guess early to like 2003.
It's 2008.
Okay.
Very close. Because when I'm start reading this, I'm like, I put this down there and I was thinking, that's right around the time because the fairies never got anything in New Fantasyland, and Tinkerbell's
they were
always
originally
been in Town
supposed
Square.
to in the original plans.
Correct.
But I didn't remember. I mean, I remember going to Toontown and stuff, but I don't remember the specifics too much.
Okay, I've got two more. We're going to go to name that price, and I'm going to go with what year did Morocco open in Epcot?
Oh,
Morocco.
yes, that was after.
If you're listening,
91.
84, sir.
Oh, so
84.
I thought Morocco was. I forgot Norway was the newest one. That is my bad.
Do you want to take a quick guess on when the Tower of Terror opened?
Oh, that was like 2002.
No, sir. 1994.
Oh, yeah, way off on that one.
Way off. Okay. So, Phil, I think you did a pretty good job. I think you should give yourself a pat on the back and be happy with what you did because you were actually close in a lot of them. I would have blown all of those answers. Morocco opened in 2016. Everybody's looking at me strange. All right, we're going to move on to this. Guess that price. I kind of like this one a little bit more because I learned a little bit here. And some of these things might actually shock you. So I'm going to give you a year and a thing, and you're going to tell me how much you think it cost, right?
Okay.
I'm not looking for the exact price. It's going to be an estimation. So in 2009, 14 years ago, how much did a Mickey bar cost in the parks? Today, they cost $6 and change, I believe. $6.25, $6.
Like 14 years ago.
This is not adjusted for inflation, so this would be the
Okay.
listed price at the marquee on the board.
$375.
Very close. It's $275.
Okay.
So I'll give you credit for having two of the digits correct on that one.
That's crazy how much it's gone up. I mean,
It's
14
double.
years is 14 years, but like still.
It's doubled in
It was
price.
2 and
for some
change,
ice
and
cream.
now 6 and change. Jeez.
Yep. Today, I'm going to use an average Walt Disney World single day ticket to be about $150, right?
Yeah.
In 2000, how much did it cost? 2000, 23 years ago, almost a quarter century ago already.
Yeah.
Don't you feel old?
I do. So it was probably like $65.
$46. It's even worse than you can.
I know.
Right?
I'm trying to give him more credit than I guess I should.
Yeah. All right, we're going to talk about hotel rack rates. Okay, so I had a list. I wasn't going to go with a handful of ones, but I've got 3 categories: moderates, the contemporary garden room, and the poly with a pool view. So in 1996, how much did you think a rack rate for a moderate resort was?
1996.
96. I hope you guys are playing along out there.
I'm trying to do it quick too. So 96, $105.
$120.
Okay.
But it was within variance of that. I saw a couple posts that was 115, 110, so you're close. The poly with a pool view in 1996. Would you like a hint first?
No, I'll just guess. It's more fun.
Okay.
Poly with a pool view, I would say like $250.
That's close. $280.
Okay.
Which is a crime. I just for inflation, that's probably still cheaper anyway. But the contemporary with a garden view room.
So the garden wing one, yeah.
Yeah,
so
1996.
$240.
Very good. 245.
Okay.
So 240 is probably correct because I probably picked a Saturday rate instead of a Tuesday rate. So right, I'll give you credit for that one. Here's the thing. So back in 1992, you could rent a motorboat for a half hour on Crescent Lake. How much do you think it cost to rent a motorboat on the Crescent Lake
1992?
Yes. 30 years ago.
For an hour, like a motorboat people, I don't know, $12 an hour?
Correct. $12 on the dot. Very nice. Excellent. So if you and your wife wanted to go back in time and celebrate a very romantic evening at V&A's in 1992, how much would it cost for both of you?
I have both of us
combined. V&A's in 1992. How much would it cost for both of you? Tip not included.
With the wine or just
nope.
the meal?
There's just the meal.
140.
Very close. $150. $75 a person, not including wine. That's just I don't even know what to think about that. Okay, so a year after the park opened, 1972, how much was parking at the Magic Kingdom?
Oh, I think it was like $3.
50 cents, sir.
50
$3.
cents.
$3 was like earnings for a week. What's going on? 50 cents. So knowing that, how much was a hamburger? Not a cheeseburger, a hamburger. I don't have the price on a cheeseburger. I'm just making a joke. It's a hamburger.
Cents.
Correct. Very nice. Okay, so I got two things for 2002.
Okay.
One of them no longer exists. But what was the entry fee to Pleasure Island? This is an event where you got an app, an entree, dessert, and a soft drink included.
What year was this?
2002.
2002.
21 years ago.
Yeah.
Don't you feel old? I feel old.
1995, something like that, like $19.
No, it's 2002. Oh,
okay.
How much for entry fee into Pleasure Island
entry fee
and dinner?
And dinner.
Yeah,
per
app,
person?
entree, dessert, soft drink.
$24.
$29. Very good.
Okay.
That's very close. How much was Not So Scary Halloween party in 2002?
Oof.
How much was it to get? And I have a bonus question also to go after this.
$29.
Excellent. It's $28.
Okay.
How many nights were available?
Oh, as opposed to like the 85
all
nights
of them
now. Yeah.
Yes.
It's probably like 11 nights or something.
It was a week.
Just 1 week? Wow.
7 days. 7 days in 2002. Can you imagine all the money Disney left on the table 20 something years ago? Absolutely amazing. How much was an annual pass in 1988?
Just the high end annual pass. 88.
88.
$220.
Ooh, that's way too expensive, Phil.
Oh.
$165. $165. What a deal. I mean, you only had Magic Kingdom and Epcot at the time, right? So
But
it's
still,
only two parks.
That's practically one day now.
That's criminal.
Crazy.
That's criminal. Last one, a little bit of nostalgia. In 1982, what was the admission rate for River Country?
Oh.
For adults or kids. You give me both or one of them.
$14.
$6.50 for adults.
$6.50. Wow.
$4.25 for kids.
Oh, wow.
It's like less than a bottle of water you can get into River Country.
That's the same. It's a Mickey bar. It's
yeah,
literally a Mickey
exactly.
bar.
You could go into a water park for a Mickey bar, right? Just travel back in time. All right, that's going to take us to the end of the games. I hope you had fun, Phil. I kind of like
felt
this.
More pressure than I probably should have.
Absolutely. Okay, we had a DBC engagement again for this week. Is what are some of the key reasons why you book by yourself or with a travel agent? I was kind of thinking about this because I just became a travel agent. Maybe we'll talk more about that at a later date. But most people said I don't use a travel agent at all because they want to handle things on their own, which I don't blame them. I do want to say some people have said, and this is me, I'm in this camp as well, when you have a complicated reservation, multiple people going, I use a travel agent because they can coordinate bookings and arrival times and all this other stuff. It's less work and less hassle off of you, and that's what they do that for you. Phil, have you ever used a travel agent and for whatever reason other than it was a friend or a family, because we both used Matt as a travel agent?
Yep. So I have in the past, and I will say I've had good and bad, and the worst scenario I think is having a bad travel agent.
Yes.
You're definitely better off doing it on your own. I think if you have a really good travel agent, there are some benefits. It helps. I think that they can look up just the different deals and just might have opinions on like the different views and rooms, and especially picking a resort and a room. I think a travel agent can help with just finding the right deals and making sure you're getting into the right category and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can understand why a lot of other people are saying, like, even the ones that are on Discord that did use a travel agent, that was kind of the extent of it. They didn't, nobody I think really said they used them for, booking their ADRs or anything like that.
Yep. The only other thing that people used the travel agents for was a lot of the cruise line itinerary type of stuff. And that was the one thing that stood out.
And I did appreciate because I was going to post like, okay, everyone's saying they don't use them, but like, do you see a negative in using it, or is it just kind of like, I don't see the big benefit, I'd just rather do it? And a couple of people did post they felt like it was just an extra step of having to explain to somebody else, like, here's what the family is, here's what we're looking to do, here's where we want to go, like kind of. And then if they misinterpreted something, like it was kind of just another layer that they wanted to avoid. And I guess I can kind of understand that they just like, look, if I'm doing it myself, I know it's exactly what I want it to be.
Yep. And we're not afraid to make those changes, but there's plenty of people I know out there that would love somebody to make their ADRs for them and not have to wake up at 6:00 and juggle that and try to find new ones. Because I know, I have a friend that I just booked a trip for, and he was kind of like, he's using me for advice because he's never been and everything else like that. Says, okay, I'll book with you. And it's like, how do I do ADRs? Like, I can do it for you, or you could do it. If you give me access, I have to have access to your Disney account to do it for you. And if you want me to trust, he's like, yeah, I could do it for myself. I'm up at 5:00 in the morning every day anyway, no big deal. But he needed walking through how the systems work and stuff like that. So if you know somebody that's never been to Disney World and they're a friend of yours and you don't want to be that person to walk them through everything, maybe you don't want to have them rely on you for everything else like that. You say, well, get a travel agent if you feel comfortable, and hopefully they'll be able to help you out. And those good travel agents, if you can recommend one, typically are those type of people that can walk you through everything and actually don't mind doing it and actually answer your emails. Because that was one of the terrible experiences I had when I wanted to support somebody. It'd take them like 24 hours to respond. I'm like, 5 ADRs disappeared because you had to wait 24 hours, right?
Exactly,
so I'm too impatient when it comes to that type of thing. All right, we're going to end this here, but we still had this little puzzle that we got from a Canadian friend on budgeting a month-long trip for like $10,000 Canadian, which I still believe is bonkers. But we're going to talk about that probably in 3 weeks' time, Phil, right? That would be back on our non-vacation schedules 3 weeks from now, I think.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because by the next time that we're on our show, we're going to be doing a trip report. This week's DBC engagement, I want to talk about a random question, but because it's holiday party season, I want to ask everybody there, what holiday would you have another party at Disney and what season in park would you choose? So like, obviously we've got Halloween, we've got the holidays. Is it 4th of July? Is it Easter? Is it something else? Like, come up with any holiday you can, throw it in a park, and let us know how you would do it. So we're going to kind of investigate that. I have a couple ideas. None of them are very good at this time, but I have to think about this a little bit more. Luckily, I've got at least 2 weeks. I just want to remind everybody that find us on social media, hop on Discord, make sure you like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. We really appreciate that. I want to say not to expect a show next week. If anything, I'll be doing a solo show with any updates and kind of conversation. The following week, we'll be back. Probably, I think, what are we doing that? Is that going to be like a Wednesday release? I don't remember if we're recording on a Monday or Tuesday, Phil, but we'll figure that out.
Yep.
And then after that, we'll be, it's September, school's back, and summer's over. Sad times. But anyway, Phil, did I forget anything? Do we need to add anything to the show?
Nope, I think you covered it. We're all good.
Awesome. We're about to hit the exactly 1 hour mark. So everybody, thank you for watching and listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow us wherever you want. Join that Discord, and we will see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Bye.